Let's look back at last night's Spurs-Pacers game, and are we overestimating the Spurs?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Emily Swallow, and you are listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Kens 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. Hope everybody's having a great work week. We'll get you through here right here on Locked On Spurs. Subscribe to Locked On Spurs wherever you get your favorite podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, iTunes. Might be helpful. I bring closer my mic. Sirius XM NBA Radio. The list goes on and on. Even the Kens 5 Plus app. You guys are the everydayers. And we appreciate you subscribing to Locked On Spurs. What are we talking about today? We're going to look at last night's Spurs-Pacers game, first half, second half kind of takeaways. And then we're going to have our guest, Mike Taylor of The Mike Taylor Show. He'll be helping me discuss a couple of topics you see right there on your screen. Are we overestimating the Spurs? And who's a better fit with Wemby, KJ, or Devin? Right here on Locked On Spurs. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get themselves $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Let's jump into that first half Spurs-Pacers. And it can be pretty much summed up by this. 3-point shooting by the Pacers. That's what pretty much put the doom and gloom in the Spurs in that first half. At the end of the first half, it was 86-61. Not the good guys, not the silver and black guys. It was all Pacers to start that opening two sets of frames there. First takeaway, number one, is Indiana. They could not miss from the three-point line. Kid you not. This was the first half shooting from Indiana. Brace yourselves. Pacers went 14 for 22 from the three line in the first half versus the Spurs. That's the first takeaway, is Indiana was just simply red hot. Spurs were not closing on their shooters. Indiana could not miss. That three-point shot definitely was falling for the Pacers, and I think that really popped the Spurs in the mouth. They look all sorts of discombobulated there, rushing shots, just not upping that Spurs defense, and it cost them. Yeah, that's a big reason why they were down at half. 3-point shooting by Indiana. Big first takeaway from the first half Spurs-Pacers. Second big takeaway is the Spurs really missed Devin Vassell. You can see it. You lost a really good defender. You lost a guy who can pump in 20 points a game. Spurs lost a floor general as well. He's been wanting to be that leader for this team. He's embracing it. And you can see they're all out of sorts. This is a Spurs team that needs to be firing on all cylinders and need all their heavy hitters to play. Devin Vassell once again sat out for last night's game versus the Pacers. And you could see they're missing him. You saw that they're missing him versus the Toronto Raptors. You saw that they're missing him in the first half versus Indiana on the road. Now, of course, fine, sure. Maybe it's a second night of a back-to-back. They went to overtime a couple of days ago versus Toronto in their gym. Then they got to travel and then play a game in Indiana. It's an early start to the game. You lose some extra some sleep, extra recovery time, and it could be for a bad mix right now. But yeah, just not the Spurs first half at all. So first takeaway again was 3-point shooting by Indiana. 14 for 22 could not be stopped. Second takeaway is that Devin Vassell is severely missed on this squad. And the final takeaway from the Spurs-Pacers first half action is fast break points advantage Indiana. Again, Spurs defense not firing on all cylinders. Spurs were down the fast break points department 17-8. Indiana with that advantage in that statistical category. 17 fast break points for the Pacers. That transition defense was not getting back in time to stop them from Indiana getting easy buckets. You give Indiana wide open threes, they're just red hot no matter what you can do, and you don't close out on them, and you don't get back on defense in the fast break transition. It's going to spell for a long night for the Spurs. Well, at least for the first half. Those are three takeaways right there. Would really put the Spurs behind the 8-ball in that first half versus Indiana. So yeah, 27-point deficit for your Spurs in that first half. Yeah, that's how bad it was in just periods 1 and 2. Now, were there any positives in that first half? Absolutely. I think the biggest positive right now is pretty much Malachi Branham. He spoke with me recently about how he's still trying to find his offensive flow. Well, in the first half, 17 minutes, 3 for 5 shooting, from the field, finished with 8 points off the bench, connected on both of his free throws. So there's a little bit of a spark plug. That first half, you had Keldon Johnson with 14 points. Victor Wembanyama, not a great shooting half, had 2 for 7 from the field, 28%, 8 points, 5 rebounds, 1 block, and he was a -8 in the first half. Just a bad mix right now. When we get back, we're going to look at that second half, and hopefully the Spurs can rebound from a poor first half versus Indiana on the road. But before we do that, I want to talk to you about FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. Hey, so score early this NFL season, huh? You just saw you some good stuff right there with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Once again, that's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get on the action than right now. As mentioned, NFL season's underway. NBA season's underway. It's a great time to get into the action at FanDuel. I go there. You should go there. I look at all those money lines. I look at all that stuff. What better way to have fun this sports season with NFL and NBA basketball already going? So if you're thinking about joining FanDuel, join right now. The app is easy to use. Go download it. The wide range of betting options from the spreads, player props, so much more. I wonder why. It's the best around. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon right now and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Hey guys, this is Jason David Frank, the Green Ranger, and you are listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia. It's morphin' time.
And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs. Hey, thanks for being in every day. You guys are the best. Subscribe to Locked On Spurs every get podcast. All right, let's recap. Second half and a total disaster for your San Antonio Spurs. I'm not kidding what I'm about to tell you. Pacers scored 152 points for the game. 152. Spurs 111. That was the final score. So what happened in that second half? Here are the 3 takeaways from that second half disaster. Spurs just could not find the bucket from the 3 line. They missed 12 3-point shots in that second half, only connected on 3. Yeah, they shot 40% from the field in that second half. Pretty much what was also. Look, the game was over at half. I mean, it really was. It just wasn't the Spurs night. You add in an overtime loss in San Antonio to the Raptors. Then you got to travel hours soon after that to Indiana, then play an early game against the Pacers, and yeah, just a bad mix. Again, you really look at some takeaways. The first one was just obviously not connecting on shots. We talked about the 3-point shot, just misfiring. They were just misfiring all over. 20 for 50 in the second half. Second takeaway, defense. Look, you already know the score, 152 points. Where was the defense from your silver and black? It was MIA. 3 points defense was still an issue in the second half for the Spurs. Ultimately, the Pacers connected on 16 of 29 3 shots for the game. Spurs only hit 7. So there's your stat of the night right there. But sure, the Spurs got clubbed over the head, largest lead by Pacers with 40 points. But in a way, it's good. Maybe it humbled the kids. Maybe it humbled Wembanyama. Maybe it humbled Keldon Johnson. Maybe it just humbled this team together. They got some good wins versus Phoenix, out in Phoenix. Get that win over Houston in overtime, gutted it out. But maybe this is just kind of a wake-up call for them. Look, might as well get this out of the way early in the season. Spurs got trounced. Okay, it's going to happen. Guess what? It's probably going to happen to a lot of teams this year. Them getting just, stomped. But I think this is a lesson for this young team. You got to be ready every night. This is the NBA. This is Wembanyama's first back-to-back NBA game situation for him. And he struggled on the night. We'll go into some numbers in just a few minutes. So I guess the final takeaway is, look, they learned a hard lesson last night versus the Pacers. And that is you got to come out with that energy. This is the NBA. It's the NBA schedule. The poor defense, lack of 3-point shooting from the Spurs, hot 3-point shooting from the Pacers. And the final takeaway being they got humbled. They got humbled bad. Hopefully they can carry these lessons into tomorrow night's game in New York. Let's go into some final numbers here. Who led the Spurs? Doug McDermott. It's a day a game where Doug McDermott's leading your team in scoring. 17 points for Doug McDermott. Tyrese Halliburton for the Pacers, he had 23 for Indiana. Zach Collins finished with 14 points. He had 5 rebounds, 2 assists in 20 minutes. Keldon Johnson, 16 points on the night, 6 for 12 shooting and 3 assists. And Victor Wembanyama, here's your Wemby watch right here. He had a double-double, 13 and 10. What was a -9 on the night in 21 minutes. 3 for 12 shooting. Had a horrible night from the perimeter. 2 for 5 from 3 line. He had a steal and 2 blocks. He had a couple of turnovers. Coming up next, we have Mike Taylor of the Mike Taylor Show. He's going to chat with me about your Spurs, and pretty appropriate topic. Have we been overestimating the Spurs this season? And we're going to get into also the topic of whether or not Devin Vassell or Keldon Johnson, is a better complement to Wembanyama. Coming up next right here on Locked On Spurs.
Hey, this is Chris Sabat, and you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
And as promised, we are now joined by Mike Taylor of the Mike Taylor Show. You can find that on YouTube. Welcome back, Mike.
Good to be here, man. Thank you for reaching out again.
Not a problem. Make sure to follow him on X at Mike Taylor Show. Mike, do you still call it Twitter or X and all that stuff? No,
dude, I still call it Twitter. Yeah, I know that's wrong, but I'm not taking a knee to Elon. I go with Twitter.
Well, let me tell you, when I do my articles for Ken's 5, and I put in X, they have to qualify. Now it's always formerly known as this now.
I've seen that. It's like Prince was for 10 years. Yeah.
It's like Prince, yeah. All right. And just in a few minutes, Mike's going to be bragging about his show on YouTube, all that good stuff that he has cooking, and a new show that recently dropped. I think it's 3 Cents Podcast. He'll talk about that in just a few minutes. Just going to dive right into this. So we're just a few games into the Spurs season. They just finished playing Indiana. Yeah, they're there. They're getting together. But the problem is, I'll see a lot of the fan base starting really puffing their chest out, like, look at us. You know, we got Wemby. We got Wemby. Look, we beat Phoenix out in their gym twice and all this good stuff. Got to pump the brakes a little bit, Mike. Where do you stand on this? Are we overestimating the Spurs in just the start of the new season?
Maybe a little bit. It's hard. It's hard not to, man. The kid looks so fantastic, and he's so different, and he's all these things we were told we were going to see once he started playing real games, and it's manifested. I mean, this has been 3 or 4 years of awful basketball with a plan, and now that the future has arrived, we don't want to be patient anymore, you know, and he doesn't want to be patient. Wemby said on draft night, I want to win championships fast, and so, you know, the world we live in a world in which we want gratification, but I think Spurs fans are also smart enough to know it's going to be a while, and I guess let me say this. You say expectation, are we getting too far ahead of ourselves? So this first couple of weeks of the season, they're right around 500, right? So go back to when you and I talked last month. If I'd have told you, hey, they're going to go 41-41 this year, you would have been through the roof. Absolutely. So I'm excited that they're right around 500. You know, I'm cool with that. 40, if they won 35 games, I'd be cool with that. So I'm super stoked that they're on pace to go 500, right? But I'm not here sitting here thinking, you know, if we can slide into that 5th spot and get a good matchup with Memphis, we might go to the Western Conference Finals. I'm not doing that. But it's just we've been starving for great basketball, so there was going to be some, oh my gosh, look how good he is moments, and that's what we've had.
Yeah, I've been on the side of the fence saying, let's pump the brakes a bit. Great wins in Phoenix, good wins. You know, hey, you know, to fight them off when they were storming back in that second game of that back-to-back set. I thought that was great. When they took that massive L versus Toronto at the Frost, you know, I walked away from that game feeling like, hey, this is just part of the process. I wasn't upset. The players, they weren't upset. Pop wasn't flipping tables and going off of the media. He was all smiles. Because what did everybody say to start the season, Mike? It's going to take time to cook. You know, and I think what happened was you had that Wemby breakout game versus Phoenix. Then they beat Phoenix twice at their gym. They pull out that win versus Houston. The list goes on and on. Those small victories, and I think the fan base is thinking, oh, small victories, this is going to accumulate this season into playoff spot 1 through 6. I just don't see that, Mike.
No. So let's do it this way. Let's pretend you and I are doing a show called Locked On Suns.
Yeah.
Here's what we're saying. Wow, that kid that the Spurs have, he is unbelievable. We had no business losing to those people twice in a row. That's what we're saying. We're better than them. Let's pretend we're doing Locked On Raptors.
Yeah.
We're sitting in a cold room in Canada. We're saying, okay, we never should have been down by 27. San Antonio's, they're coming back. They've got that kid. He's sensational. What our guys on a Sunday afternoon, it took us a while. We woke up late, and we were the real Raptors in the second half. My point being, I don't want to overreact to the two victories in Phoenix. Just like I don't want to freak out about the blown lead to Toronto. It's part of the process. The Raptors are a damn good basketball team. They were 2-4 going into that game. I don't know how they should be better than that. The Raptors are a good ball club. I'm not saying they're going to go to the finals, but they're a good ball club. They're certainly better than San Antonio right now. And it just took them a long time to wake up on the road in the middle of a Sunday afternoon. And when they woke up, they ran us off the floor. That's okay. Phoenix blew that lead the other night. They've got injuries and stuff. I don't want to give Phoenix excuses, but they do. You know, Bradley Beal hadn't played yet at that point. Devin Booker was rusty, although he caught fire. So the perspective is, we're 6-7 games into the season. The Spurs are right around 500. We've had some really awesome moments with some really crappy moments, and I keep hearing people say, "Well, this is the Sunday game, going back to the Raptors game. That was a teaching moment for Pop and the team, or a learning moment. Oh, that's fine. Right. We're going to have that's cool. We're going to have a bunch of those, but no, I'm cautiously, realistically super excited. Does that make sense?
No, it does make sense. And that's what I keep telling Spurs fans, because during the whole offseason, I kept on telling them, getting Wemby is great. That's awesome. Yay, Spurs. Go, Spurs, go. But that did not mean they're out of the rebuild phase yet.
Right.
I hate to break it to you, Spurs fans. They're still in it. They're still in it. Remember Trader Bob? Remember Trader Bob Bass? For those kids that are not old like myself and Mike here, there was this old GM for the Spurs way back in the day. There was not a deal who would not turn down. It feels like Brian Wright has kind of morphed into that, like Bob Bass light. He's been, what the record shows, he's not afraid to pull the trigger. And I think with what you just said right now, Wemby saying to the world on draft night and media day, I want to win titles. If this mix ain't happening right now for this team, Brian Wright may keep Wemby happy, pull a trigger on a deal. My point is that this team is still in the process of learning and reshaping the roster. You know, I think you made it very clear on your show, the Mike Taylor Show on YouTube, that if your name is not Wemby, you be on the lookout. You still got to fit within the roster.
That's right.
So, are we overestimating the Spurs at this moment in time in the calendar year of the Spurs season? Maybe a little. I think a little. I think we are. I think once the power teams in the East and the West and those teams that are on the rise, like your Kings, your Pelicans, once they start getting their groove, San Antonio might be in some trouble as the season moves on. You got Wemby that keeps you in the game. You got Devin Vassell who's playing great. I say let's just estimate the Spurs season in a couple of months. Where do you stand?
Same. I think it's funny you mentioned Brian Wright. So it's funny. He's got two job descriptions simultaneously. One, let Pop build what we have. Take it slow. Let these kids develop on their own time organically. But at the same time, let's try to win as soon as we can. It's weird. That's why he gets paid whatever they pay him. Because, if a deal were to manifest that makes them exponentially better in February at the deadline, like you said, Brian Wright will look at it. You know, Pop will look at it. Pop's 74. He ain't trying to coach till he's 90. Pop would like to win as soon as he can, too, while not what's the right word? Because I've never heard Pop use this term before. Or maybe Brett Brown. We don't want to violate our process, but at the same time, we'll do whatever it takes to speed that process up. So it just all depends. No one's going to make a deal this early in the season. So develop what you have, see what you have. They clearly have some weaknesses. I'm worried about their depth. I don't know how much they have. I mean, this kid Osman, who's been in the league for a while, but no one, he's been playing for bad teams. He's been good the first couple of weeks off their bench. I love Zach Collins so far, but these are a bunch of babies. None of them have done any winning. Wemby's never played 82 games in a season.
Right.
So we'll see. He's going to have bad weeks. There's going to be weeks where it's like, oh no, Wemby's taking a step back. Well, it's going to happen, I think.
Yeah.
So it's weird. It's a weird scenario in that I do think I'm super excited. I would love to win right now. It's funny. I was sitting in a bar Sunday.
Yeah.
We had the stupid Cowboys on one screen, and we were all riveted by the Spurs blowing that league, and everybody was just losing their blank. Oh my!
No.
It was like, can you believe we're up this big? We're. And then all of a sudden they blow the league. And it's like, oh, this is a horrible loss. This sucks. Oh, son of a bitch. Order me another beer. I'm depressed. But then within 2 minutes, it's like, well, they're young. We know they're going to have days like this. So in the moment, it's like, and then reality kicks in.
Reality kicks in. Yeah, exactly.
It's in a weird spot because we have this generational talent who's 19 and he's only played 6-7 games.
Right, exactly.
So it is what it is. It's like, the tree is growing. It's 2 feet high. It's blooming, beautiful little leaves, but it's only 2 feet high. But you can see it blooming, and that's what's got me excited that the thing is blooming because it's been a desert for 2 years.
Oh my goodness, has it been? Yeah, I think in time again, and the same thing goes for the Spurs. Just we're talking about those. But yeah, there's still some time for this team to get on some rhythm, everybody. But as of right now, are we overestimating the Spurs right now? Perhaps a little bit. Hey, when we get back, we're going to ask Mike a big question here. Who is a better complementary player for Wembanyama? KJ or Devin Vassell? Coming up next right here on Locked On Spurs. We spend a lot of time talking together, you and I. We get fired up together on wins and losses, who starts, who sits. I'm thankful for that connection we have, and today I want our chat to be a little bit more personal. I just learned that you can get a 1-year supply on ED medications. You realize what that means, right? Bring on extended travel, bring on the next natural disaster or supply chain issue. You are covered, my friend. You don't have to worry about whether or not you can refill your generics for Cialis, Viagra, or Revatio prescription. And this is because of our friends at Jace Medical. Go online right now at jacemedical.com to receive your 12-month supply on your daily medication. Remember to use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout for a discount as well. A verified customer had this to say about Jace. I am thankful for this service. Supply chain issues caused me to cut pills in half to have it. I ordered most of my daily meds with a year supply. I also ordered antibiotic kit. Now I feel secure. Prices are lower than local pharmacies. I highly recommend this for everyone. If you or someone you love would get some peace of mind by having a year supply of any daily med, go to jacemedical.com to see if it's offered to you. Remember, use promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your purchase. The Jace case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for medical emergency use. All it takes to get a Jace case to fill out a simple online form. In some cases, jump to a quick call with one of their board-certified physicians. Doctor created, doctor recommended. Don't be caught unprepared. Everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. Jace handles everything from online evaluation to licensed pharmacy, medication delivery, and ongoing consultation and care. So go to jacemedical.com. That's jacemedical.com. Use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your purchase. Hey, next I want to talk to you about Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee, proud local sponsor of Locked On Spurs, and they are located at 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive, open every day 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. They got everything. Dairy alternatives, the Red Bull Infused Lightning Bolt series. They got specialty drinks like the Alien in honor of Victor Wembanyama. They got the Sub-Zero in honor of UTSA's Frank Harris. They got it all. They got the OG, which is the Orange Julius recreated only at Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee. You want to go to Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee right now. Over 300 5-star reviews, cannot be wrong. They have a friendly staff, great menu, mini donuts. They're located in the 1604-21 area. Get there quick. Get yourself that coffee. Speaking of coffee, try the Mudslinger. That's their signature coffee. So much more on that menu. Go to Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee right now. San Antonio, they love to interact with you on social media. Find them on X, Threads, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. The list goes on and on. You can find them at Mudslinger, SATX. That's all one word. Do it right now. Everybody loves going to Mudslingers. You will too. So go to Muslinger's Drive-Thru Coffee right now. 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive. Open every day 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Go get that coffee because life is too short for bland coffee. And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Mike Taylor of The Mike Taylor Show on YouTube. He'll brag about his new baby in just a few minutes. And he's probably going to cook me when I go on his show in a couple of days for all of this mess over here. Yeah. I'm probably going to get the business right now. He's not a nerd like me. And
no, I'm not.
So he's definitely going to let me have it soon. And you know what? I kind of got you, but not really. Here's what I mean. So this whole question about KJ, Devin Vassell, better compliment to Wemby. I just don't want to use the words that scare you away. Who's a better Robin to the Wembanyama Batman?
Yeah,
I had to shoehorn it in a way where Taylor doesn't say, you know what, Jeff, I'm going to skip that segment because it's too nerdy.
Yeah, I'm glad you use old cartoon characters and not new ones or any of the people. I don't know. When you come on my show, we need to go through those in the background. I need to know the names of these people. Last segment, something came up. We were talking, and I was talking about how Brian Wright has this weird job where it's like, let Pop develop these kids. Unless a big trade comes up that benefits us, then we'll do that. So it's just like trying to balance that. It's a similar situation going on when it comes to, like you asked me about the fit. Who's a better fit, Devin Vassell or Keldon Johnson? Well, they're figuring that out right now because, like I said the other day when I was on, and you brought this up. If you can't play with Wemby, you can't play with the Spurs. That's how it's going to be. It doesn't matter how good you are, how young you are, your money situation. I'll tell you this. I say this. I'm not on here to spread conspiracy theory. But the fact that they gave Devin that massive extension in the summer shows me that, and I think I brought this theory up with you before. I did not think, and I don't want to say he was not hurt. I'm not saying they were bilking the injury.
Right.
I think that had the Spurs been a good team last season, a playoff team, I'll bet you Devin Vassell had returns a little bit sooner than he did because they were having a bad year. Let's let this kid sit down a little bit longer, just make sure his knee is good. And he's had the groin this cap last week, and that's not good, but it's not bad, so that's a good thing. My point is, Devin Vassell is the guy that I said this earlier. If you can't play with Wemby, you got to go. If you just said, no, you have to come up with one other guy who's going to stay, who's untouchable. The closest untouchable guy they have outside of number one is Devin. And I like Keldon Johnson, and he's given a lot to this organization. He has developed here. He's grown into a good young man, and he's a Spur. He's all those things that the Spurs say that they want to bring in when they bring guys in. But Devin Vassell has clearly been the second best player. Well, I say that he's been the best player half the nights. He's been better than Wembanyama some of the nights. Not skill wise, but he's just been more productive. Right. He's a veteran. He is the second best player on that team at worst, and he's out there kicking booty last week in Phoenix, while Wemby was too. So those boys can play together just fine. Keldon can play with Wembanyama too just fine. So it's a tough question, and it's a good one. Give me Devin Vassell, but not in a landslide over Keldon Johnson. Yeah. I'm not trying to cop out, but give me Devin by a hair.
Yeah, and I don't blame you for, kind of straddling the fence right now because heading into that Pacers game, Keldon was dropping 20 points or double-figure scoring in 4 of the first 6 games.
Yeah.
So Wemby's not impacting his game. He's getting his, and that's a second threat outside of Wembanyama. But Devin's a little different. He's built different. There's a little bit more of a diamond, more facets to his game. Keldon, still that guy that if my shot's not falling, I'm just going to go directly into the paint and then try to score from there. Devin will bring you a little bit more mid-range game, a little more 3 shots to fall. Not to say Keldon can't make them, but if I had to choose between Keldon or Devin taking a 3, I'm leaning towards Devin. I think as of right now, I got to do it to you, Mike. He is the Robin to Wembanyama's Batman.
That's cool.
So I think that's where I am right now.
I'm down with the old school references.
Okay,
keep it old school.
yeah, I'll keep it old school. Yeah,
okay,
exactly. But I think Keldon for sure. See, if I go this route, then I'm not keeping it old school. So I'm not going to, since you're the guest, I'm not going to do it to you, but this is for the listeners and the viewers. He's more the Nightwing. That is for, I'll explain that to you on your show. How about that? Okay. Stay tuned for Mike Taylor's reaction to getting nerd education for that one.
Nightwing.
Nightwing. But I think right now, Devin Vassell, he's the better complement to Wembanyama. Do you think maybe it would have been Sochan on the table if he wasn't playing out of position right now?
Ooh, maybe. Poor Jeremy Sochan. He's getting criticized a lot lately.
He's getting it bad lately.
Yeah, and I understand. He's a kid, and I get like, man, he's filling a role for them that he's filling a void is what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's kind of a kid without a position, and I worry about that. It's like it's only a few guys in the world who can handle playing multiple positions like that. Hey, we need you to run over here and do that. Oh no, we need you to do that. Oh, go back to that. Oh, wait. Come off the bench, start, run the point, start the game, but don't finish it. Oh, go back. Oh, we need you to guard Luka Doncic. He's been asked to do so much. I just wonder if they're asking him to do too much.
Yeah.
I would love to see, and of course, God love Trey Jones. He's a good kid and he's a solid player, but I don't think he's the guy long term. As far as like having a superstar type point guard that can win playoff series for you, I don't think Trey Jones is that guy. And so you got to have somebody else to platoon with him. And that guy kind of by default is Sochan because he's so skilled. And I think Sochan will figure it out and get better. But I also think that there's a ceiling for Jeremy too at point. And I hope that I would like to see them trade for another point guard.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. Statistically, Trey Jones is the better fit with pretty much most lineups out there. There's I would say ridiculous, more obvious impact with Wembanyama. Whenever a true point guard's on the court, Trey Jones, he gets more touches, he scores more baskets, he gets more touches at the rim where he's most impactful. And who's assisting him and all that? It's Trey Jones.
Yep.
So that's that's definitely for another Locked On Spurs, this whole Trey Jones Sochan thing. But as far as complimentary player, I think Sochan could have been in the mix early in the season if he wasn't playing out of position, because he can rebound, he can defend, he's feisty, he can be a little bit of a enforcer type guy if somebody comes at Wemby. But we'll see how this it's still a young season, that point guard spot. I'm not gonna be surprised if it flips, and Trey Jones gets reinserted and everybody goes back and Sochan goes to his natural spot. But the problem then is who gets benched, who's going to get,
like Pop said, Manu Ginobili came off the bench. You can too. So just depends.
Absolutely.
Just depends.
He is Mike Taylor with the Mike Taylor Show. Talk to us about what you got cooking on YouTube. What's all going on your end?
We're out hustling. So we're chasing dollars. No, I'm kidding. So I recently joined a new podcast. I still have the one that I've been doing for a while, Mike Taylor Live. Thank you for the pub, by the way. Mike Taylor Live on YouTube and Spotify and iHeart and Patreon and all those things. It airs live Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. Recently, I started doing another podcast with a couple of dudes. One guy called Cleto Rodriguez, who's a longtime local stand-up comic in town and worked for WAI TV for a long time, as you know, and Ernie Zuniga, who was an anchor with KABB, Fox News here locally, a long time. And all three of us were just kind of hanging out, and I was on another podcast that Ernie does, and I've known Cleto for years, and it's just kind of like, I want to do something? Yeah, sure, that's cool. So we thought it was just going to be a little, weekly experiment for fun. Then all of a sudden we landed a sponsorship package. Oh dang. It went from a weekly experiment to, golly, it's a job now. So that's a good thing. I'm not complaining.
It's a good thing.
Yeah. So it's 3 Cents podcast. It airs every Tuesday, usually at 1 or 2. And it's me and Cleto and Ernie just shooting. There's 3 middle-aged dudes trying to stay as cool as we can. and we're just 3 guys who are San Antonio dudes who like to talk about San Antonio stuff, but we also bring 3 very different perspectives. Ernie's a very classy, very smart news guy. Cleto's a wild man, stand-up comic guy. And, I'm I'm me, So you throw us together, and we're just trying to see what sticks. And so far, we've probably done 7, 8 episodes, and doing okay, man. Thank you, I appreciate it. So maybe I'll make it as a podcaster before I have to go begging back for radio stations to hire me. I am my own boss. Sorry to cut you off.
No problem.
One of these big giant companies wants to buy me out. I'm for sale. Just saying. I got babies to feed. I can always start another podcast.
Yeah, exactly. And those companies out there can make sure to get a hold of them at Mike Taylor Show.
Yes, sir.
On X. Make sure you do that right now. I will be on his Mike Taylor Show this week. I believe we're going to record soon, so
Wednesday.
Be looking forward to that. Check out the Nerd Education of Mike Taylor.
Let's do it Wednesday. And that's people I want to punch, by the way. So you got to have somebody that you would punch, not for real, but if you could get away with it, who would it be and why? Once
again, he is Mike Taylor on X at Mike Taylor Show. Make sure you do that right now. And thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts: Google Play, Stitcher, iTunes, Ken's 5 Plus app, Sirius XM NBA Radio. That's right, Mike. Everybody's hearing you right now on Sirius XM Radio. So there is no excuse for you to not check out Locked On Spurs and the rest of the Locked On NBA podcast and just the whole network itself. So, we'll be back tomorrow with more Spurs, more Wemby, everybody. Shocker, I know. More Wemby. You guys are the everydayers, so we appreciate you subscribing. So for Mike Taylor, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.